Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Please, just think about these words. It is very sad that our first mulatto president will be judged in history as the most inept, corrupt, wasteful, subversive, destructive, and divisive president ever. A man twice elected because of the color of his skin, rather than the content of his character. Here's Kate Smith and God Bless America for this Tuesday morning, and we'll need a Pledge of Allegiance giver in just a moment. Stand by. Thank you very much, Kate Smith. Wonderful lady, fantastic voice. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations getting you ready for winter driving. And, of course, some of our great advertisers include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them and get on the route service today, 734-6969. And now, a lady that is the official K-Bar Cat Chaser, here's Gina.
He gave me quite the heart attack. Here's a quick story. Okay, so Chris had to run outside. She left the door open. Cat was right behind her. Cat almost got outside. Cat's not supposed to be outside. Gina had a heart attack.
Yeah, I saw, and really, ladies and gentlemen, again, I implore you never to try to monitor the early words before we go on this program. There were some references to some things that we don't talk about on the air. Close
the door. Pretty much. Phew, though, but he's safe, and too many doors open, too many things going on. He got shoved up into the front office.
And the person that left the door open has now really appreciated how their family ancestry is.
Pretty much. You know, come on. I've done a lot for Mr. Conway, Kitty, and I would just be devastated if he got outside. And we're on a busy road.
Oh, boy.
So, you know, I would just be devastated.
I understand.
With that being said, he's safe now.
Hey, real quick, we missed a birthday yesterday.
Oh, who did we miss?
Brenda Adams.
Brenda.
Yeah, and God bless Brenda and all she does, and she's... Keep going, you're doing good.
Happy birthday, dear Brenda. Happy birthday to you.
One thing is true, they'll never know or think that was me.
That was true.
That was great, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge.
Oh,
and Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very well done. Thank you, and now, Rotten, if you would, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless you, Rotten, and your lovely, lovely bride. Have a wonderful day, okay?
You too.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. It's time for the weather, brought to you by MichaelRogersWeather.com. Michael, tell us how beautiful it's going to be.
Pretty good. You've got your sandwich in between two systems, and you're on the good part of it. Morning, everybody. It's kind of cool outside, about 23 degrees in Murtaugh right about now. System number 1 is in front of us to the east. The good news about that is that it is bringing snow to the Rockies and also to the middle section of the country. The snow to the Rockies is what we need for later on next spring. We are in the middle of high pressure, which is why you have this gorgeous, beautiful morning and a beautiful sunrise between the twin towers of Mount Harrison and Catch Peak. System number 3, I'm sitting right into it, and it's going to be moving in the same direction that I'm moving to, but you're not going to see too much out of it for the Magic Valley. So bottom line of the forecast today, sun and clouds is going to be on the cool side, though. You're going to see struggle to get up to 45 for the high, 23 for the overnight low. It will begin to warm up starting tomorrow, going into the later portion of the week, but as far as the warm-up itself, you might get as high as 57 by the time you get to Friday. Otherwise, not a bad day in the Magic Valley, South Central Idaho. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you've got.
There's the best weatherman in the industry, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you very much. I have an update on a story that we had on the air yesterday morning that has changed completely, and I can't wait to share this with you, so stand by. Don't forget Rain for Rent, 134 South, 600 West Highway 27 in Paul, 438-5065, with the Reinke Pivot Sales and Service and the best doggone sales crew that know their business, know the Reinke Pivot Sales. They know all about service, and they're offering great Reinke rebates right now for this fall. Check it out today by calling them at 438-5065 or stop over to Rain for Rent, 134 South, 600 West Highway 27 in Paul. Some really, really nice people serving you. Also, quickly, before I get things rolling here, I want to remind you about Valleywide Home and Ranch, and I'm just real high on these folks over there. They've got a remodeled store, and it's just so handy to go in and shop for, like, your boots, or shop for your coats, or your warm winter clothing. I mean, they've got everything. All the tack, all the feed, everything you need. Pine shavings for the horse trailers and stalls, and they've got all the smart lick tubs and cattle lick blocks and all the different protein levels. Hey, it's all there for you, the farm, the family, and the home. Valleywide Home and Ranch. 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Steve and the crew serving you at Valleywide in Rupert. Okay, here we go. This was really interesting to me. Yesterday, we had Jeremy Tedesco, lawyer on the case against the school district in New Jersey, Bordentown, New Jersey. This case had gone all over the United States. It had been featured on O'Reilly's The O'Reilly Factor, had been featured by Greta Van Susteren and Hannity and many, many others. Well, all of a sudden, yesterday, after Jeremy Tedesco was on our program, they made their pitch, if you will, to the Bordentown, New Jersey School District, and evidently it was very, very forceful. Because after Jeremy Tedesco and others that have appeared on my program, the Alliance Defending Freedom, went over the letter for the district to diffuse the situation about not allowing religious Christmas carols in concert performances at the district's elementary schools, the district rescinded that motion, and they said yes. After Alliance Defending Freedom went over the letter, they suggested heartily that the Bordentown Regional School District reverse their decision or else. And they did. I love that. And so there will be Christmas music, there will be Christmas carols, there will be the mention of the Nativity, there will be Hark the Herald Angels Sing in Bordentown, New Jersey School District, because they have seen the light. And God bless them for it. I love that kind of a story. Success. We beat the bad guys. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. And I know, you tippy-toed over to the thermostat this morning and went to turn it up, and your furnace went, and then it started. Well, don't let your furnace groan in the basement. Make sure that you have a happy furnace. There's nothing better than a happy furnace, because you need to change their air filters, and they will provide the heat for you. Absolutely. They've got the good air filters at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I want to get into what a lot of journalists and talking heads on the radio and television will not talk about, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. They are the best at fixing your vehicles. I mean, if you've had an accident, a fender bender. I had a terrible occasion happen to my pickup this summer, and they just fixed it up. It's brand spanking new. Looks great. And they strive to make your vehicle repairs undetectable. Absolutely. Call them at 736-2490. Tell them Zeb sent you. Middlecoff Ford Lincoln Body Shop, 1243 Blue Lakes Boulevard in Twin Falls. Absolutely the best. Thank you very much. Only a handful of journalists and talking heads will tell it like it is in the media today. And quite frankly, I'm one of them. I'm not going to kowtow to anybody in government. I'm not going to back up and be apologetic. Obama is and has proven numerous times to be a liar. Now, this wishy-washy attitude of saying, well, he was maybe just giving wrong information. Well, maybe he was a little deceptive. Well, maybe he didn't say it that way. He said it the other way. But, everybody's trying to cover for him. Obama is a liar. I'm going to leave it at that. He's a fraud, and he's the great deceiver. I have absolutely no respect for him as a man, or especially as president. Never, and I'm going to mark my words on this, even with the Clinton administration in office, have I been more embarrassed and ashamed of the U.S. presidency as I am with this man, President Barack Hussein Obama. So many good people. And I broke down last night with tears in my eyes listening to a couple of cancer patients talk about how they right now have no insurance coverage. None. Nada. So many good people are being hurt by this foolish, amateur Obamacare and Obama himself through this administration. So many good people are being hurt and left out in the cold right now, not knowing what to do about their insurance or lack of. And as I tell you this man, this liar, is trying to make up new lies about his past lies and trying to spin you to his side. It's absolutely disgusting. If you, the American public, are gullible enough to fall for this, you'll fall for anything. Obama now is denying that he said the "you can keep it" phrase in his speeches. It was caught on tape 29 times. The tapes were not doctored. The tapes were not altered. The tapes were not at all censored. And this man has said 29 times, at least on tape, if you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period. And now, he's coming out and changing it and saying, what we said was, you could keep it if it hasn't changed since the law was passed. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want anybody to call me and say, well, you have to have respect for the presidency. No, we do not. When there is a liar, a deceiver, and a fraudulent person standing there at a podium and lying to the American public. He is coming out now, as are many of the Democrats, trying to play CYA. If you don't know what it is, ask your neighbor. And they're trying to incorporate what we said was you could keep it if it hasn't changed under the law that was passed. That claim is not supported by any of his videotape statements, which do not include any mention of his new "if it hasn't changed" exception. That is a lie. That is a lie. And time after time after time, this man perpetrated the lie, and the American public bought it hook, line, and sinker. But now, I wonder, and I want you to respond to this morning. Come on, it's going to affect you. It's going to affect my wife's insurance. I wonder how many people are, now that the president is coming out with a new lie, as a cover-up to backwalk the old lie, how many are going to buy into this? How gullible is the American public right now that they're going to believe what this man tells them? He is causing the cancellation of insurance policies chosen by at least 3.5 million Americans. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. I have two things, and then I got to head to work. I'm glad that school finally woke up to the fact that, they're not in charge. They cannot change the fact that it is Merry Christmas. That's what this country was founded on, was religion. Number two, Obamacare sucks. I've got to go in and meet with my insurance agent. I got a notice saying that I was canceled from the policy that I chose, that I liked, that I've been going to the same doctor for 20-some years. I don't want to change doctors. It's going to cost me triple what I was paying. And at 61 years old, I'm proud of the fact that I've made it that far. I don't need maternity coverage.
Donna, I'm just going to say this.
I have to have it on my policy.
I know. The ridiculous assertions and add-ons to policies are just absolutely they're harrowing experiences for millions right now. But I'm going to say this. I want to say this in conjunction to what you just stated about possibly your change of insurance, the cancellation of your insurance, the changing of doctors. In my wife's particular case, with her health, I pity what's going to happen on this radio program if she is forced out in the cold against and away from her specialist. You have not heard me mad until that happens.
Hold on to your Simpsons, because it's going to happen. And another thing is, they do not get this straightened out. I really believe that people have finally had enough. And Congress and Senate and Obama, if they're going to implement that law, they need to stand with the 28th Amendment of the Constitution. They cannot implement an issue or a policy that they do not adhere to. So if we have to do it, by dadgum, they better too.
Well, I wish and I pray for you as a dear friend that everything goes better for you, but I think that we are going to be talking about this for a long time to come. We are going to be talking about this fiasco way through the end of the month of November, because I do not believe, and I'm not a computer expert, but I've talked to people that are, and they do not see any way, shape, or form that this idiocy and hypocrisy can change before the end of November. It's going to hurt millions of people, and this man, this great deceiver, and quite frankly, the great liar, has caused this heartache and turmoil all over the United States.
He has. And you know what? If we don't start standing up, I mean, one person can't do it alone, but if we as a country, if we as a nation don't stand up and say, you know what, Bucko, you're history. Go back to Africa where you belong. It's our fault.
I am not going to try to censor anything you say, because I believe it. I think that this man is absolutely worthy of being thrown out of office now. Donna, God bless you. I got to do a quick commercial. Thank you very much.
Hey, have a great day, my friend.
I'm just incensed at this. How you can possibly spin and lie to the American public. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Wait just a moment for these quick commercials. I'll be right with you. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They can clean anything. I mean, if they can clean my rumply crumplies and make them look brand spanking new, I know what they can do for your clothes. I guarantee you they're the best. And I've said this many times, get ready for all the family gatherings coming up for Thanksgiving and Christmas and everything, and have your drapes cleaned, yes, and make sure everything looks really, really good. They know the ins and outs of cleaning everything so that it does look new, and they'd love to help you at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Stop in and see them today. Really nice people at Daryl's Cleaners. Also, real fast, I want to remind you that we have been on SafeLink Internet for a long time right here at my program, and thank you, we made the switch, and they are the best. Idaho's #1 choice in wireless high-speed Internet. The number to call, Shane and the crew, for installation, 677-8000. Unlimited data, yes to free installations. They are absolutely the best. Their service is impeccable. Call them today, 677-8000, SafeLink Internet. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb. You was talking about people calling President Obama a liar?
Yes, I did.
Well, it's the damn truth. And just like last night, I happened to watch in on some old Riley, him and that Juan Williams with Mary Catherine Ham. You know, he lets that Juan Williams rave on and on and on about how great Obama is. Mary Catherine comes on and says, oh, yeah, well, it's this old stuff about... And he is a liar, she said, and Bill jumped all over her.
Yeah.
He said, let's don't say that. Let's just say he's misleading and stuff like that. Horse crap. He's a liar, and he always will be a liar.
It's a lie if it's not a true statement, and you keep perpetrating that untrue statement. He has done it 29 times on tape. There was no alteration of the tape. There wasn't anything censored. You've heard it many times. You're a news junkie that follows everything like this, and I am sick and tired of the American public being gullible enough to let this man off the hook. He's a liar, he's a deceiver, and he's absolutely hurting the American public.
I still think if we had a guy in there like old Newt Gingrich as the head of the Republican, in the House, we'd have had him up on charges for treason and stuff like that and impeachment 3 years ago. But we have no leadership at all except a bunch of butt-suckers back there in Washington.
Well, I will say that your verbiage was a little bit more candid than I care for, but you are probably correct. Al, thank you very much. Appreciate it. God bless you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Obama lies and Carnage bears to it. We got groups of people that are really going to be hurt, and these young people are going to be fleeced by Obamacare. We got people in the middle class who are going to find themselves without health care, and the older generation is going to be allowed to just lay back and die without proper care.
I can't argue that. I'm seeing more and more with the different interviews and the different think tanks that I call, whether it's the Media Research Center back on the coast, Washington, D.C., whatever it might be, they're telling me horror stories about young people, youth in general, that don't want any part of Obamacare. They're looking at it. They're calling the man deceitful and a liar, like I am this morning. They won't join up. They're not going to cover the cost, and it's going to fall to the middle class. It's going to be a horrendous taxing situation trying to fund this thing, and you hit it right on the head. The first group of people that are going to be rescinded from their coverage and their prices and taxes are going to go sky high are the elderly, and they're just going to be told to go off in the corner and die.
Be another Holocaust in this country.
I'm just fed up with this administration. Tony, there is not one thing I can say decent about this administration. I don't want to say anything decent about this administration. And what really bothers me is that the Democrats have no intestinal fortitude to stand up and rebuff the statements. They'd rather cower in the corner and let the storm clouds gather overhead because they haven't got the backbone to stand up.
Well, he's no president. He's just a resident. Take the P off a president, you got what he is.
Thank you, Tony. I always appreciate your calls. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
God bless, man. Travel Loop Supply with Jim McCall right there at his farm, and he called the other day and he said, you never guess what happened. I said, what? He said, the pink bubble ropes are in. I said, you kidding me? He said, yep, the bubble ropes are in. We've got all the pink bubble ropes in commemoration of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And you check it out at Travel Loop Supply today. You never get stuck with a bubble rope. And they've got a lot of plowshares over there. As a matter of fact, they got so many in stock, they're going to let them go at cost. So now's the time to stock up. And they can clean your air filters, do everything for you. Travel Loop Supply, 1050 West, 203 South Hayburn, 438-8730. It is time now for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and that's brought to us by our dear friends at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-2321. Here's the Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Idaho's wine grape haul will be much lighter this year, but with harvest mostly wrapped up, vintners will like the quality of fruit they've seen. Idaho's 1,600 vineyards yields about 2,800 tons of wine grapes each year, and the state's 50 wineries produce an average of 183,000 12-bottle cases. Most Idaho wineries began harvesting in mid-September and wrapped up about mid-October. Only some late-season varieties and ice wines have yet to be harvested. Wine growers said the smaller-than-normal wine grape haul in 2013 is due mostly to unusually cold January temperatures that killed some vines down to the ground. Quite a few vineyards harvested nothing because of the cold damage. This is Hannah Browse.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Hey, by the way, Pacific Steel and Recycling is 100% employee-owned and has been for 25 years, and National Recycling Day is coming up on November 15th, and Deanne's going to be getting a hold of Pacific Steel and Recycling and finding out all about specials and free prizes and giveaways right there at Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley, 678-2321. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, I want to remind you that if you'll send me a short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you, you might win a turkey. That's right. I'm going to be giving away, along with some of our sponsors, Ramsey's and Smith Food King and others, we're going to be mentioning shortly. We're going to be giving away 4 turkeys for Thanksgiving, and all you have to do is send what Thanksgiving means to you to me at Zeb at the Ranch. That's ZEBATTHERANCH, Zeb at the Ranch, @hotmail.com. Get those to me as soon as you can, because we're going to start the drawings on the week of November 21st. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. I would love to hear from you right now. I want you that are a little bit longer in the tooth and gray in the hair like I am to think back 25 years. Think back 25 years. Ronald Reagan was president 25 years ago. Now, I'm going to say this, and I mean this. I don't say anything on this program I don't mean. Never in our wildest dreams then, 25 years ago, would we think that this country could sink as low as it is right now, and accept that low point as where we should be. You think about where we are. Think about where liberalism has taken us. Think about where liberalism is trying to take us. And shame on Obama, and shame be heaped upon the Democrats like Harry Reid and others for what they're doing to destroy values in this country. Government intrusion has gone into our lives like I could never imagine 25 years ago, telling us what we can eat and how much we can eat or how much we can drink of soda, telling us what we can say and what we can't say, eliminating certain words in a Gestapo-type manner, telling us that they are going to take gun control to the next level, signing treaties with the United Nations that eventually, I honestly believe, will amount to nothing more than a confiscation program. Hold on, caller. I'll be right with you, I promise. Forcing filthy gay and lesbian and transgender lifestyles onto our everyday living and into our schools. The denigration of Christianity and our Constitution. And government agencies like the EPA playing Gestapo tactics with all of us. Socialism being taught in our schools as the new way of the future. Spying on us. And the lazy in our midst being fed by the ambitious. Tell us that we're not going to hell. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, and God will not be mocked, and we're paying the price for it because of, look at the destruction that's coming to this country with weird weather, and everybody says, gee, this is the weirdest. We have 500-year floods every year now,
Yeah.
and so forth. But the point, what you're saying is absolutely right on, Zeb, and you and I have discussed this at length, but one of the things that is also happening is that in our education and even the places that are historical sites, like the mall in Washington, D.C., the highest deal, of course, is the Washington Monument. And do you know what's on the top of the Washington Monument, which it's not being taught, hasn't been taught, it's kept from the public? It says, on the top, in Latin, it says, praise to God.
Yes.
And all through the stairway, all up to the top, which of course is closed to the public, has been for a good number of years, it's all kinds of Bible scriptures on the way up to the top of the Washington Monument. Everything's been sanitized to take Christianity, the belief in God, that our founding fathers, they were just a bunch of wealthy men and they didn't apply to the people. I heard that again on a clip out of a DVD I watched last night, that these liberal professors from different universities just are trying to take our founding fathers and the principles in which made this country great, and within 2 years after they signed and put the Constitution into place, the world was talking about what happened in the United States of America. I mean, when the people were freed and have the regulations and the taxes from the British, but now we've got the same thing we had when the colonies were trying to depart from Great Britain.
In 25 years, we have seen, Adrian, we have seen this country spiral down a toilet. I am going to use that word because I absolutely believe it. We have seen our rights being chiseled away, our freedoms being chiseled away, our speech being chiseled away. Gun control is going to be an absolutely epic problem in the not-too-distant future. And the gay and lesbian lifestyle, transgender lifestyle being forced and heaped upon churches and schools. And like I said, the denigration of Christianity in our Constitution is one that we should absolutely sit back and be ashamed of ourselves for letting it happen.
I totally agree, and unfortunately, there's a lot of pastors, Christians don't become communists, but unfortunately communists do become ministers and pastors, and they preach that evil socialism right from the pulpit. Well, Reverend Wright's a good example of that, and others that have, basically brainwashed, and our kids under this new Common Core is more of the same destruction of our kids. There was a professor at he's a social science history professor at a university here in Idaho, and he gave a pretest to his students, and the students were amazed that their beliefs were basically Marxism and socialism. Yeah. They were just absolutely flabbergasted. So he gave them 3 weeks, and he gave them some reading assignments, and then gave them a secondary test just within 3 weeks. And it showed a graph of how their attitudes had changed. But this is what's being taught in the school, is socialism, one-worldism, environmental radicalism, and, of course, global warming is at the top of the list.
I got to run, but I appreciate your comments as always. Thank you, Adrian. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right with you. Stand by. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's today at 678-0459. And remember, at Ramsey's, they have warm winters and cool summers. They're serving you at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, and shame on us as a populace for sending the same men back to Washington, D.C. What are they doing to help this country?
Well, it doesn't appear to be very much.
And here we are sending the same ones back there day after day, year after year, for the last 25 years.
Well, here's what I would like to do, and here's what I'd like to propose in the upcoming elections next year in 2014. I would like to propose that any and all candidates have to be submissive to their constituents and wear an electronic dog collar. Every time they do something stupid or they don't do what they're supposed to, the public back home gets a chance to push the button and knock them right on their big old butt and let them know that they're working for us and not for themselves.
There you go. That would draw their attention, I'm sure, because I've used them electronic dog collars.
They have a tendency to gain respect.
No, they don't. They're thinking only of themselves, most of them.
Yeah, I agree.
I won't lay that onto all of them, but we've got some here that are that way. So There you've got my take.
All right, Fred. I'm going to start solicitations for those cross-continental dog collars. We'll start staking money on that and putting it in an account starting probably in the spring. Have a good day.
Sounds like a winner.
Thanks, Fred. God bless you.
I'll be calling you after the show.
All right, buddy.
Something I want to talk to you about.
All right, thanks, Fred. Thank you much.
You bet. Bye.
Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, I'm very upset. And I run into people every day that say to me, oh, come on, Zeb, it's not that bad. Really? Really? You mean to tell me that this mess with Obamacare is acceptable to you? This mess that was heaped upon us, and it was heaped upon us, by a president that wants a socialistic value in this country that we've never seen before. Do you mean to tell me that people standing there right now this morning not having any clue how their family is going to be covered for insurance, how they're going to be covered by insurance, that's acceptable to you? Is it acceptable to you to see Christianity and Christmas and everything else laughed at, scorned at, and pushed out of the public square? What about your schools? Is it acceptable to you to see socialism preached, that Fidel Castro is someone to be admired, and this is already happening in the Pennsylvania school systems? Is it acceptable to you to lose all your rights and have NSA people spying on you, listening to your telephone conversations, checking your emails? Is that acceptable to you? It's not to me. And I absolutely abhor this administration. That's another word for hate, for what they've done to this country. And we have allowed it to happen. 25 years ago, 25 short years ago, when I wasn't gray-haired and long in the tooth, we never thought this could come upon us this fast. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. And you know it isn't that bad.
Yes, it is.
It's way worse than what you're saying. And you aren't longer in the teeth. Your teeth wear down. You become shorter in the teeth.
It's an old phrase, Jerry. It's an old phrase.
I understand, and I'm picking on you.
Don't. I'm not in the mood.
You know, I can't resist it. I have temptations, and that is a temptation.
Well, I am very worked up about this because I don't think the general populace understands how serious this is. I don't think the general populace is going to sit there and hold Obama's feet to the fire, and they need to be, over how he has lied so many times about Obamacare and everything else, Benghazi, the IRS scandal and everything else. I'm worried that we're on the road to hell because of this man and his administration leading us down that path.
So I'll agree with you. And, you know, anybody that can excuse all the lies, you know, a few lies I can understand. But this guy I don't think has ever told the truth. It's just almost scary what he says anymore and what he has said in the past and the things he does to get his way. You know, they go around Congress and you know, it's just unbelievable what they're doing. And it is way worse than what you're saying.
Well, okay.
And I'll shut up and get out of your hair and leave you alone for at least 10 minutes.
All right, Jerry. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call as always. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless.
You know, I'd really like, and somebody said the other day, I was in a conversation at a coffee shop, and somebody said, well, you know, how come so many people agree with you? Why don't they get some other people to call on your program that don't agree with you? And I looked at that person, I said, duh. That's a good question. Why? Why don't they have the backbone to stand up and try to perpetrate their idea as to why this man is doing a good job? Why don't they stand up and try to tell me, oh, our cutback in our free speech, our cutback in the denigration of Christianity and Constitution is a good thing? Why don't they stand up for that? Because they, the left, haven't got the backbone or the spine. They will attack in the dark. They will attack at your back, but they will not do it on a frontal assault. I have given these people given these people an opportunity to come on this program, sit 8 feet across this desk, and look me in the eye and talk about these subjects, oh, they run like little scurrying ants. They haven't got the backbone. Time for a weather update. Michael Rogers weather, and it's brought to you this hour by Quali's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls, and they've got increased factory instant rebates on Sony and Samsung right now, and lots and lots and lots, and that means a bunch of televisions in stock right now. They have what you're looking for. Treat yourself to something neat going into the winter holiday season, and stop in at Quali's Electronics right now for their big anniversary sale at 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. And right now, here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day on the cool side. By the way, we're going to warm up. This cold, it's not going to last for a while, but we're not going to warm up like you really want to warm up. Okay, 45 for the high today, 54 tomorrow, 55 day after tomorrow. It's going to be sun and clouds throughout much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you know what? Enjoy the fall of November and enjoy the weather. Feel the weather you got.
There you go, MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you this hour by my friends, Quali's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Big anniversary sale going on right now. You know, there's another issue I want to get in this morning, and I'm very upset about this, but there seems to be a concentrated effort going on now, and the Supreme Court is going to be looking at this as to whether or not we can pray at town meetings. And I got to thinking about this, that I see nothing wrong with prayer at all. Anytime you want to, I think that's fine. I pray anytime I want. I'm not going to have anybody tell me I can't. But the more I think about this, you know, where they're coming down on town meetings and they're saying you can't pray before a town meeting, or you can't pray before this, you can't pray before a football game and everything. And all of a sudden it hit me last night when I was doing some research on this. I'm just waiting for the day. And I know it's going to happen. And I know that I, with my very ignited personality, will not handle it well. But I know that at Lunch Bunch, when we stand up en masse and we have a prayer and a Pledge of Allegiance with the words "under God," and the lovely Linda Croft sings the national anthem, I know that there will be forthcoming a complaint. I know that somebody will go to me and or the management and say, we had to overhear that prayer and it offended us. And you know what? I really don't know how I'm going to react. I'm not so certain it's going to be in a subtle fashion. I'm certain that I will probably lose my cool, because I'm not going to be subjected to having someone tell me that they were offended by my prayer. I'm not asking them to participate. I'm not asking them to, or demanding of them, that they stand and say the prayer or honor us with the bow of the head or the folding of the hands. But they probably will come up to me and say, that offended me. And I'm going to be real straight with you folks. I'm not sure how I'm going to handle it. Is it now to the point that the Supreme Court of the land is going to tell us when, where, how, or not that we can pray? Think about this. This is really becoming serious. And like I said, when I put a meeting on, or I put on Lunch Bunch, you can bet your drawer full of old socks that it's going to have a prayer. And if you don't like it, don't participate, because I'm not going to change my way. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Today is voting day. Yes, many elections across the United States, and here in the Magic Valley, of course, various towns are going to be having votes for the mayor and the city council and everything, and the Burley mayoral race, Now, residents of Burley really need to consider where they're headed and who's driving the bus. That's all I'm going to say. I'm just going to let it go at that. You got to figure out where you're headed and who's driving the bus. It's your decision today, so please go vote. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I want to remind you about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness sakes, absolutely. They do such a wonderful job, and they've got all your tires to get through the snow, the ice, and the muck of wintertime driving. Yep, they've got the winter traction tires for your light truck and SUVs that are all pinned for studs, starting at just $99.99. And they got your passenger car tires, studdable traction, starting at just $64.99. And they've got the Observe tire, premium studded tire alternative, starting at just $124.99. All the tires that you need for safe wintertime driving, along with the tire chains and the best in batteries. Don't overlook your battery. Please check it out, have it checked, and then find out what you need to do. For safe wintertime driving, you stop into any and all of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers: Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John and Poline and Twin, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, who was that congressman that was so prophetic when he called Obama, "You lie," at one of his speeches?
Yes.
You recall that?
I certainly do. He was sitting up in the upper area of the congressional seats, and oh my goodness sakes, I can't remember his name offhand. Please forgive me.
Anyway, how prophetic was that statement?
You know, I thought about that last night when I was watching television, and I was listening to this absolutely twisting and distorting of the facts, and how good Obama and his crew are of making the American public feel that what their lying ears heard was not said.
Yeah. Well, I think you need to get some bumper stickers that say "You lie," period.
Amen. Yeah. And possibly have his picture right there on the bumper sticker. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, sir. God bless you. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I believe we have an amendment in our Constitution called the First, and it's freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
How is Obama going to get the Supreme Court to overturn our Constitution?
You know, I'm glad you called on this, Carl, because you've been a stalwart with our lunch bunch since we started. And there has only been 2 occasions, and I never said anything about this publicly. There were 2 occasions during the long term of the lunch bunch where a person, 2 different people, 2 different occasions, came up to me afterwards and complained about our prayer and our national anthem, etc. And basically, I just told them, I said, I'm not in the mood to listen to your garbage. Leave me alone. And that I walked away. I did not have any more of a confrontation with those people after that. I will not accept any confrontation. But you know, Carl, when we have the prayer at our lunch bunch, it isn't a public meeting per se. I'm not going to change the way I do things, or I'll stop the lunch bunch.
You know, Zeb, I've given a couple of prayers when Jimmy was around.
That's right.
And I would like them to tell me that I can't do that.
Yeah.
I really would.
Yeah. Knowing you as a retired naval submariner, I don't think I'd want to mess with old Carl.
Well, I might revert back into sailor talk. I hope I don't.
Okay.
But I speak sailor fluently.
I see.
And I'm firmly convinced that the ACLU have got to be a bunch of nerds, and they're going to be presenting this to the Supreme Court, I presume.
Well, I'm just really worried about the outcome, because as we look on a daily basis, Carl, you've got to admit that things 25 years ago that you were thinking about would never occur. They are happening on a daily basis.
Well, I would like everybody to send a Christmas card to the ACLU.
There you go.
You know, to the head nerd. And I've done that now for the last 6 years.
God bless you. I got to run, buddy, but thank you for your call. I always appreciate having you on the air. You're a dear friend. Thank you so much.
Have a great one.
Thank
Zeb,
you.
And God bless.
Thank you. And by the way, I want to bring something else up. I found it to be highly hypocritical and really silly. The way the Obama administration handled Halloween with basically a thuggery attitude about Obama masks. One guy was arrested in a town for wearing an Obama mask, and other people were threatened by the ACLU and the NAACP. The NAACP said that they were going to possibly have a filing of a grievance against people for wearing Barack Hussein Obama masks. Okay, that being said, would you care to tell me the difference, audience? When you turn to any op-ed page, opinion editorial page in any newspaper, and a good example would be on Friday's paper of the USA Today, and look at the rows and rows of cartoons that are drawn with the caricature of Obama, and some of them are not very flattering. What is the difference for a national syndicated newspaper to carry the cartoons like that, but for someone to wear a mask of Barack Obama on Halloween is considered by some to be illegal? So, what I've done, and I'm going to put it right behind me on the shelf, I have bought a Barack Hussein Obama mask. And I'm going to mount that mask right behind me on one of those styrofoam heads. And it's going to be right behind me so that everybody that tunes in on the internet can see the Barack Hussein Obama mask. I am not going to weaken on this. Every other president has gone through a mask situation, if you will, at Halloween and other times. Barack is not special. Okay, we're going to take a little break and come back next hour with the Institute for Energy Research. Dan Simmons talking about gas, and it's cheapening up a little bit, but is this just kind of a little valley? Then all of a sudden it's going to go back to the mountain again? We'll find out. And then Doris Haynes from Oakley is going to be on at 9:30 talking about another children's book that she's written. She is really an accomplished author. We'll be back. Don't go away. You know, it's pretty outside. Pretty doggone chilly. No, it's a beautiful day outside in the neighborhood. Mr. Rogers put his sweater on instead of taking it off. I'll guarantee you that. Good morning. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 2. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations getting you ready for safe winter driving. Along with our great advertisers, some of which are Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin in Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, they're involved in taking care of something you don't want. Boy, you want to get rid of it, and that's garbage. Well, they can get rid of your garbage because they are always at your disposal at Western Waste Services. Check out the dumpsters in various sizes. I mean, like I've said many times, put one in your garage and just start pitching and throwing. And when it's all filled, just call them and they'll come get it. You better believe it. And, you know, they've got all the great trash collection on their route service to where you just call them and say, I want to get on the route service, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 that big truck will pull up and take care of your garbage. Western Waste Services. Call them today, 734-6969. That number again, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Oh, my goodness. 7 minutes after the hour, we're going to have our next guest on in just a moment, but I want to remind everybody at Hanson Mortuary, they recognize the very sacred trust that grieving families place in a funeral home and director. Joel Heward, owner and manager of Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, says he will always provide the best possible support and comfort for families at a very, very difficult time, always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Very, very nice people serving you. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. For more information, please call them at 436-5636. Well, with me on the telephone right now from back east, and I think I heard that they're going to be getting a fairly good cold slap in the face in the next couple of days weather-wise. Dan Simmons, Institute for Energy Research, Director of State and Regulatory Affairs. What a title. You ought to see his desk. It's as big as the title. Hello, Dan. How you doing?
Hi, Zeb. Doing well.
Dan, I got to admit something to you this morning before we get started. I lost my cheat sheet as to what we were going to talk about, and I've been frantically scanning my desk, which is like looking at the Grand Canyon, and I can't find it. What were we going to talk about? Help me.
Well, what I have down for us to talk about is is ethanol, and that recently the AAA, I guess they used to call themselves the American Automobile Association. Now they just call themselves AAA. Was calling on Congress to reduce the ethanol mandate, as in part of the renewable fuel standard is that we use a certain amount of ethanol every year. And what AAA is saying, guys, this is stupid. We need to reduce this mandate back to a level that actually makes sense, because what happened is that in 2005 and 2007, Congress passed a law, and then obviously updated it in 2007, that specified, we have to use a certain number of gallons of ethanol a year, and in the billions of gallons. Because, back at that time, people thought, hey, we're running out of, our oil production is declining, let's get off of foreign oil.
Now, Dan, I'm going to have to admit, Dan, can you hear me for a second? I'm going to have to interrupt you. Your phone is cutting out. I think it's a cell phone, if I'm not wrong, and it's cutting out. We're losing a lot of your verbiage. Is there a possibility that we can call you right back at that 703 number?
Sure, call me right back.
On the 703 number? The 855, I won't give the last four digits, but my engineer will call you right now. I'm going to give her that phone number, and we'll call you right back after I do a commercial break. Okay, I'm sorry, it was just cutting out.
All right.
So we'll call you right back. And Gina, if you're listening, are you there, Gina?
Yes.
And the number is 703-855-6419.
Okay, dialing now.
I appreciate you. That Gina is absolutely the backbone of our program. While we're waiting for that to occur, I want to remind everybody about Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, and of course the number 678-1459. Gentle Ben and the rest of the crew, they can help increase the energy efficiency of your home 2 to 3 times with the atrium windows. Oh, don't let the warm air go outside and warm up an old bird's nest. Hey, keep it inside so you're toasty and comfortable. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-1459, working hard to provide great service to all the communities in the Magic Valley. Let's check with Gina. And
okay, I've got him on the line. It's a little bit better of a line. He's still voiping out just a little bit, but there's really nothing we can do about it.
Okay, we'll hopefully get this to work. And again, I apologize to Dan Simmons, IER's Director of State and Regulatory Affairs. Sometimes the old VoIP on the line, it cuts out. Dan does a lot of these interviews, and I'm sure he knows what I'm talking about. Dan, to refresh everybody's memory what we were talking about earlier, the increase of ethanol in our fuel and the dangers that it's going to occur to the American public. Go ahead and pick it up from there.
Well, and that's what happened is by putting more and more ethanol in fuel, it becomes a problem for older cars. And it's one of the good things that AAA, I mean, they are, caring about motorists and caring about older cars, that there's nowhere for all this ethanol to go. Because what the law did when it was passed is it said a certain number of gallons had to be used a year, and it keeps increasing, and so there's, cars are only certified by automakers to use 10% ethanol. More than that, the engines are not, a regular engine is not certified to use those, so you can harm your engine. Also, it harms, equipment, chainsaws, lawnmowers, those types of smaller engines. Even E10 can be an issue for those engines, and so what we have is the American Automobile Association is saying, hey guys, it's time to fix this problem. It's time to reduce the amount. It's time to fix the law. It's time for EPA to, because they have the ability to reduce this mandate back to a level that actually makes sense. And let's do that. Now, the biofuel industry isn't happy with AAA, but thank goodness we have AAA standing up for motorists.
Dan, let me ask you this, though. I mean, the American public is at fault here. The American public should be outraged. They should be waving empty 5-gallon gas cans in the air and marching on Washington and saying, look, boys and girls, you better rectify this problem in our favor because it's costing the American consumer millions and millions and millions of dollars in damaged goods, whether it's snow machines, ATVs, doesn't make any difference. This is idiocy, and it's got to stop.
Well, I'll agree and disagree with you a little bit. I don't think that we should have to live our lives in such a way that we have to be looking over the shoulder at all times at our politicians. Unfortunately, we have to, So yeah, we bear the blame as in average citizens for not getting more fired up about these issues. But the people that are really to blame, I believe, are our elected representatives, members of Congress. They're the people that we need to hold accountable, and we really have to hold them accountable because this is their problem. They passed this crap back in 2005 and 2007, and the world is the energy world is completely different today. Today we have dramatically increasing oil production. Right now we produce more liquid fuel than any other country on earth. That's ethanol plus gasoline. More than any other country on earth, more than Saudi Arabia. We do that because yes, ethanol has increased some, but what has really increased is oil production because of hydraulic fracturing in places like North Dakota. Thank goodness for that. But they pass these laws without real flexibility, and then we're stuck with them until that they can get their act together and figure out how to change it. So, Congress really needs to get their act together.
Yeah, but Dan, where really is the culprit? Does it start with the EPA? Does it start with our congressmen and our senators? Does it start with the current administration? Does it start with the environmentalists? Where do you draw the line as to who to go to first? Because personally, when I looked at the edicts that are coming down the pike from the EPA, that to me is one of the biggest villains and biggest bunch of thugs and mafiosos that the American public's ever going to have to deal with over the next 20 years.
Well, we have to. One, I think we have to start with Congress because Congress has to be held accountable so they don't do this stuff again. Second of all, what Congress did, they did one thing right. They gave EPA the ability to reduce the mandate. They set this crazy high mandate, and then they gave EPA the ability to reduce the mandate. Well, come on, the problem is when you have an agency like EPA, which is, they do not, it does not benefit them at all to lower the mandate. What benefits the regulators is to have more regulatory power. And these guys, that's how they get their power, it's how they keep their jobs, is by increasing the regulation on the rest of us. Because of that, they might reduce they might reduce the mandate somewhat, but they have flexibility to do far more. But you know what? It isn't in their best interest, even though it is definitely in our negative interest for them to keep keeping these high the mandate so high. So we have to go to Congress, and we have to also complain to EPA and tell them that this is just completely unacceptable.
Dan, in the beginning of the conversation, it was cutting out a little bit, and I didn't hear everything in its entirety, but what about the E10 added value? Is it going to possibly go as high as, I thought I heard you say E15 in our fuels? That would absolutely burn up almost every engine in the country, wouldn't it?
Yes, E15 would be a real problem, and one of the one of the good things is that even this EPA realizes that would be utter catastrophe, and so that they with a leaked memorandum that they put out recently, it showed that what they want to reduce. What they want to reduce the mandate to will not require E15. So that's good news. That E15 is somewhat, hopefully, off the table. There are some new cars that could use E15, but the rest of everything else, like anything older than, brand spanking new cars would have problems. And that means that you'd have problems in your ATVs, in your snowmobiles, and, weed eaters, all those other things. So thank goodness that is, that looks like that EPA has even realized just how big of a catastrophe that would be for all these engines. But, we still have, the only reason they've done that is because they've lost in court and because they're hearing the public comment, and from groups like, AAA and from all of the, for all the other groups that, even though EPA has all the incentives to regulate, they do have to listen, and when they hear it from enough people and enough groups, they actually, come back a little bit to reality.
Yeah. Dan, we're seeing a little bit of the bursting of the bubble, if you will, to the point where and by the way, Idaho, my state, is the highest state for gas and diesel prices of all the 48 contiguous states, and it's just making me so frustrated. I don't understand why, but we are seeing a bubble where the prices are coming down a little bit. Is this going to be a short-lived thing, or is this possibly going to be a trend for the rest of the winter where prices may go down well under $3 range?
If things stay, relatively calm in the Middle East, I think prices will continue to go down over time. Now, I've obviously been very wrong in the past, and if I knew what was really going to happen, I would be, a multimillionaire because I could, bet on the price of gas in the future. But I think the prices are going to go down because what's happening is U.S. production is increasing, which means when that happens, that makes the Middle East less important. So that even if there are some kind of, some hiccups and problems, but as soon as that, the problem is that oil, even though the U.S. is producing more, oil is still a global commodity. And because of that, the price, when something happens in the Middle East, it causes prices to spike up, and that gets filtered down to the U.S. Because, the oil is traded around the world. So hopefully things will continue to be calm, and if they continue to be calm, and if the economy continues, where it's currently going, which, isn't great, but isn't completely horrible, prices, I think, will be continuing a slow downward trend for a while.
Dan, with all the different scandals and absolute chaos that this administration has caused, with Fast and Furious, the IRS scandal, First Amendment rights, of course, Benghazi, and now Obamacare just falling apart at the seams like a cheap suit, Keystone Pipeline and other things have been put on the back burner to where you can't even find a story about them. What do you think is going to happen, if anything, on Keystone?
I think the administration is going to continue to stall until something actually forces them to make a decision, and I honestly have no idea what that is. For more than 5 years, all they had to answer was one simple question: is allowing the pipeline to cross the border in the quote-unquote national interest? That's it. That's the only thing they needed to do, is make that determination. Now, they could do they could do somewhat of a study, that sort of thing, but 5 years. 5 years. That is, more time than it took us to beat the Germans and the Japanese in World War II. And this administration can't even figure out if oil from Canada is in the national interest in that, in 5 years. It's absolutely absurd. And what it tells you is these guys, they struggle to make a decision. They don't want to make a decision. They don't want to irritate their environmentalist allies, and they will continue to stall until they absolutely have to. And I don't know what that will be to require them to have to make a decision, but I expect it's going to take a couple more years.
Oh, my goodness. Dan, I want to say how much I appreciate you always coming on our program. Daniel Simmons, the IER's Director of State and Regulatory Affairs. You're always welcome, very well informed. Dan, God bless, have a good day, and hang tough, my friend.
Thanks, Ab.
God bless. Thank you much. Daniel Simmons, IER's Director of State and Regulatory Affairs, talking about, can you imagine trying to put ethanol in the as an additive to the gasoline to an E15 level? They'd all burn up. This is complete incompetency at its worst. But I know some people that are very competent. I know some people that absolutely do the best job in their industry because they are the number one pros, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance. How'd you like that segue, Dean? Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and much, much more they can help you with. They're accessible and devoted to serving others and very helpful about your future. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. 436-4424. They care. 436-4424. Cameron Siemens Insurance, located on Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Also, real quick, I want to remind you about our friends at Scows. Every Wednesday, Scows CarQuest Centers, and, of course, my good friend Jeff Poole, we have a program on Wednesdays at 9:30 called In the Driver's Seat, and it's brought to us by Scows in Rupert, Burley, and Hayburn. And I'm telling you what, now that wintertime is upon us, you'd better be ready for the change with the season, with the different motor oils. You better make sure that you've got, of course, all the coolant and the care for your engine. You better make sure that you've got everything necessary for safe wintertime driving, and all of it can be obtained right through our friends at Scows with their CarQuest Centers, and I'm going to tell you the locations right now. Scows CarQuest in Rupert, 323 East 8th Street, Highway 25 in Rupert. Scows CarQuest of Burley, 518 Overland in Burley, and Scows Truck Center, boy, that's a big, busy truck center, on I-84 exit 211. Every detail matters for your vehicle at Scows. You stop in and see them today. Oh, my goodness. Gina, have you got a moment to get on the telephone with me just for a second? Gina. I want to thank you for your diligence. And, again, thank you for, at this kind of a drop of the hat, taking care of everything. Did you hear, this will make you a little bit mad, I think. Did you hear about the soldier that was in a cab trying to get home, and I understand see his mom and dad? And he was dressed in plain clothes, and the cab driver started talking about the military and everything, and he said, "Are you in the military?" And the soldier said, "Yes, I am." And literally, the cab driver pulled over to the side of the road and said, "Get out. I won't have you riding in my cab."
What?
I am not kidding.
Cab driver fired.
Well, as a matter of fact, you're way ahead of the game, because once this thing became known and the soldier was very upset and distraught about it, the cab company is trying to figure out who the cab driver was and what area he was driving in so they can find out the exact right person, and literally they're going to nail his hide to a wall. But can you imagine pulling over to the side of the road, and you've been a member of the United States military fighting for our freedoms, and the cab driver says, "Get out. I won't give you one more inch on the road riding in my cab"?
Well, then that cab driver can go to a different country. Seriously, be fired. Move. Get out. I don't want you here.
I don't know. Seriously, again, I don't know how I'd react. Boy, I'm telling you, somebody pulls over to the side of the road way, way ahead of where your final destination is and tells you to get out of a cab because you're a member of the military and have fought and risked your life for our country?
Wow, I'm at a loss for words. I truly am at a loss for words, because it's those are our boys. That's our men and our women, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers, aunts, uncles, grandparents. They have fought for us.
Where's the respect?
Amen. Oh my goodness, I would have had I been that soldier. I probably well.
This is where the plot thickens, everybody.
Had I been that soldier, I probably would have done something and or said something. But you know, me kind of being the calm person that I am. Excuse me, sir. What is your name again?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's John Smith. Okay.
Is that with two L's or one S?
Yes. And what cab number is this again?
Yes.
216. Okay. Cab 216. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, sir. Go ahead and let me out. Okay, I completely understand. Dialing the phone. I
wouldn't have got out of the cab.
You know, I would have.
I wouldn't have. No, I would not have got out of the cab. I would have said to that driver, you are going to have to forcibly remove me right now after that comment, because I'm going to sit here and two things are going to occur. Number one, you're going to tell me your name, address, and who you work for, what cab company. And number two, you're going to take me to my final destination, or I'm going to sue you for $100,000.
Okay, I could buy that.
Yeah, I'm going to sit in that cab, and if he lays a hand on me, you have an assault charge on him, because there's nothing that you did wrong. You didn't do anything wrong to the interior of the cab. You did not speak unrespectful to the person, and I'm going to say you forcibly remove me. Go ahead. Touch me and lay a hand on me. I'm staying in this cab until I get to my destination, and then we'll see what happens.
I honestly think, and I hope that this cab driver is let go of his services.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, but you know what? Wow, I'm speechless.
Really, I hope...
Speechless. I really just can't say what I want to say on the air.
Well, I know, and that's what I was worried about for just a moment or two. But honestly, the best retribution against this driver is for him to end up pulling a rickshaw over in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah, just send him to a different country,
There
honestly.
you go. There you go.
Okay, you do a commercial. I'm going to get our next guest.
All right. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, yeah, they've got the Flex Steel Furniture, America's seating specialist, and they've got all the examples of this Flex Steel Furniture right there in the showroom of Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, beauty, I tell you, and structural soundness and built to last. Flex Steel Furniture for you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Along with all the carpet, all the floor coverings, everything for your comfort and beautification of your home at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More with our dear friend Brent Lee and the staff, 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Really, really nice people. We're going to be visiting with a lovely lady in just a few minutes from Oakley, and her name is Doris Haynes. But before we get her on the line, I'd like to remind you about Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, that's where the fun is sold. You better believe it. They're open 9 to 6 Tuesdays through Saturdays. And believe me, they've got all the new snow machines. They've got all the new snow machines. They've got all the new 2014 ATVs. And they have got the best doggone parts and service department in the valley. They really have some people that care. They've got all the accessories. What more do you need to know? That is where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Really good folks. Ladies and gentlemen, with me on the phone right now is a lady that's not a stranger to this program. As a matter of fact, she was on here, I'm going to say it's been about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and we talked about her first children's book, and I believe it was The Rhode Island Red, and it was a story about a chicken that was in a garage, and she does a wonderful job of writing children's books, and she now has her second book out called One Goat, Two Goat, Three Goat. With me on the phone is a lovely lady, Doris Haynes. Good morning, Doris. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Bell. I'm just fine, thank you.
Well, you make me feel like an antique when you say Mr. Bell.
It's just my upbringing.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll sit here and somebody can dust me off. Doris, how did you ever get the urge to want to write children's books?
I've always loved children. I've loved reading. I come from a background of Nancy Drew, Trixie Belden books. I just found that as I'm getting older that I wanted to fulfill one of my dreams, and that was one of them, is writing children's books.
Okay. Now, I'm going to say something under an assumption that, believe me, I know nothing about writing children's books, but I would imagine that one of the hardest parts of writing the book is also finding the cartoon atmosphere that basically reflects what the verbiage is. Is that not right?
That's very true. I have a wonderful artist. He's French-Canadian, and we work up to 4 months on my format of what I want to bring forward to the children, the expressions, the colors, the sizes, and we work a good 3 months to 4 months on the computer back and forth.
Really? Now,
it's wonderful.
The first book, The Rhode Island Red, Who Loved the Garage, how did that go over nationally?
It went very well. I have relatives in Wales and in Sweden. It's in Europe. It's sold in Canada. It's doing very well online. That is my big seller, is online. And I'm very pleased. It's in schools. It's in libraries. So I'm very pleased.
Okay. Now, as far as when you and I have talked about this privately on the phone and then also on this radio program in the past, it's a big step to write a book and then say to yourself, okay, I've written the book, now what do I do?
That's true. What it is, it's a lot of homework. You have to find the right publisher for what you are trying to bring out to the children or to adults. You have to really do your homework. And I did. I got online and researched a lot of publishers and just found my niche with this one, Friesen Press in Canada. And what really excited me is that all their books are printed in Tennessee. So we have the United States and the Canada working together, and that was nice.
Now, as far as distribution of your books, you said online, but first of all, my question would be, how about the advertising? How do people get to know and hear about your books so that they can say, aha, I want to order one?
Yes, through radio, through newspaper articles, through emails to people. I have an Etsy shop online off Facebook called 12 Dozen. My book is in there, and I have gotten a lot of interesting people that have come on and asked me about my book because they saw it in my shop. For example, I just got a lovely letter from the Illinois Dairy Goat Association, who last spring asked me if I would be interested in donating my book and to their libraries in that area and also to the convention and with my business cards. This is how I'm making my contact, and I did do this, and everybody just loved it. So with that, it's just like a tree. It branches out, branches out, branches out. And within my shop, when I have an order for anything crocheted or a book that's been written, I just add a little tidbit of my next book, or if it's pillows that I've made, I donate a book, and it branches out. And so it's a lot of self-working. It really is. But I enjoy it. My royalty checks, I give back. I give back to the community, to the libraries. This is who I am, and this is what I love to do. It's very fulfilling, very fulfilling.
You have been giving back, per se, a lot in your life. I read your a quick synopsis of your life story, and you're a very, very interesting lady, and one that we can all respect and look up to for what you've done and what you've accomplished. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I think it's worthy of perhaps elaborating on a little bit. Tell me a little bit about you, your family, and exactly how you came to live in Oakley, Idaho.
Yes, I was born in upstate New York by the Bear Mountain Park. I was raised in Toledo, Ohio for a while. My mother remarried, and we moved to San Francisco and then L.A. At that time, I was a hairstylist, and I met my husband through his aunt, whose hair I did every week. And he was in Nam on his third tour, and he got out of the Navy before we got married and moved me back here to Idaho, where we moved to Cuna. And he was a high school teacher there for a while.
I see.
Went back into the Navy and became an officer. Went into the OCS there in Pensacola. And from there, we traveled all over Virginia, San Diego. We lived in Japan for 3.5 years. And then in 1986, my husband was in a terrible accident in England while on a secret assignment. And we came back to his hometown for all the inspiration and the love. A lot of his classmates are here. Gary Lloyd, Mike Cranny. There are a lot of people here that just opened their arms prior to that, prayed for Bill's recovery. And I love my little town. I love the surrounding towns where I've made so many friends. But I've been taking care of him for 28 years. He's a head injury, blind on the right side and a little paralyzed on the right side, and he's wheelchair bound. He needs 24/7 care. So they retired him as a commander, and we just made our little nest here, and I have wonderful neighbors, Kay and Tracy Lloyd and their children, who one of their sons inspired me to write this book, One Goat, Two Goat. And I'm just a happy camper. I'm fulfilling my dreams. I'm loving life. I love the country, and I love my husband dearly.
You know, Doris, I sit here and I listen to you, and you are an inspiration to anybody that might have had a paper cut on their finger and they go, oh, the world is bad and the whole thing's turning black. You've had so much happen in your life, but yet you say that you're just a happy camper. I say God's blessings to you. We need more people like you.
Thank you. Well, you know, how can you not? When you've asked God that I would take care of my husband forever if he would just give him back to me. Human being, human love, caring, togetherness is so important in life. So important. We have to do this. We have to keep united like this. We're going to all need each other one day.
Absolutely.
More than we know.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very, very happy. Very happy with what I'm doing. My husband's proud of me. My daughter is a nurse outside of Minneapolis. She works at Cannon Falls, which is south of Minneapolis. And I'm just very, very happy.
What about other subjects and other books? Do you want to try to branch out and perhaps put together kind of a fiction story, more or less aimed towards adults, or is the venue with the children's books where you want to remain?
The children's books is where I want to remain. I've donated to the bookmobiles. I'm branching out into Utah, into Washington, slowly but surely. But like I said, I'm all over the United States online at the different bookstores. And this is my niche. When I sell the books and they give me pictures of the children in their pajamas reading my books, that just warms the cockles of my heart. And if I do anything outside the realm of children's books, it would be a life story of my husband's and my love, devotion.
Now, I feel kind of left out in a way because your first book was about a chicken. Your second book was about goats. When in the world, dear lady, are you going to write about my favorite subject, horses?
In fact, I have a title for it, and it's inspired about the oldest child of Kay and Tracy Lloyd, Taylor Lloyd, who works at the different ranches and is a true cowboy, a wonderful young man. And I have started the title and a couple of sentences already to do that book.
Well, now, when you sit down and you write these books, do you pick a certain age bracket, like the Rhode Island Red perhaps was maybe for a little older child, the 1 goat, 2 goat, 3 goat was a little bit younger? I mean, how do you discern what age bracket you really want to try to attract?
Well, I know that with the younger children, the impression is at the younger years. And putting a book in their hands and letting them read and be excited with color and pictures, that's the most important. So I'm really concentrating on preschool up to 3rd grade right now. The next book that I'm writing, Mimi and the Computer Keys, about a Siamese cat, branches out a little bit to 4th graders because of the introduction of computers, but still in the animal range. And this is where I'm just finding I'm very settled right with that age group.
Okay. And then, of course, I want to go back again. You mentioned that you're illustrator for your books. Has this gentleman done all the illustrations for both the first book and the second book?
Yes, he has. I requested him for my second book, and I will for my third. Very, very inventive type of mind. We've really connected where I can type a few things to him and send him an email, and he's just spot on.
Oh, my. Well,
wonderful.
I just absolutely, first of all, I hold you in the highest respect for what you've done through your entire life and your family atmosphere and attitude. And then also, you have been prodding me, like many others, to hurry up over, what's it been now, 2 years, to finish my book. And I'm sitting here going, oh, my, if I have this lady on the program, it's going to give me a little bit more inspiration and, quite frankly, a kick in the seat of my pants to hurry up and get this thing finished. So I promise I'm going to keep working on it, Doris, especially in the month of January when I'm laid up with surgery. I'm going to try to sit there and write as much as I can.
Well, no one can ever say they don't have time. If you make time, no matter if it's 15 minutes or 5 minutes, you always have time. And if you don't live your life so much by the clock, when you do have that time off, you'll find you get right into the swing. It just comes naturally.
Well, I want to wish you the very best, especially at this time of the year when we start to think about Thanksgiving for all of our blessings and, of course, Christmas with the birth of our Savior. And I say to you and your family, God's blessings, because you're just a really nice lady, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bell, and good luck on your surgery, and have a lovely Thanksgiving, my favorite time of the year.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Isn't that a nice lady? I just absolutely enjoy talking to her. She's got such a soothing, calming, friendly voice. And writing these children's books, I've got a lot of respect for her. The latest one Goat, 2 Goat, 3 Goat, written by Doris Haynes of Oakley, Idaho, and illustrated by Dennis Pruill. And congratulations to her. We're going to have a weather update right now by MichaelRogersWeather.com, and it's brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, or heat pumps, through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. Here is Michael Rogers.
Hi, everybody. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day on the cool side. By the way, we're going to some warm up. This cold, it's not going to last for a while, but we're not going to warm up like you really want to warm up. Okay, 45 for the high today, 54 tomorrow, 55 day after tomorrow. It's going to be sun and clouds throughout much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you know what? Enjoy the fall of November and enjoy the weather. Still the weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and give them a call today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, did you hear about this mess in Miami with the Miami Dolphins football team? Oh, my. We've got a couple of players that have come to the forefront, one being the bully, the other being on the reciprocating end of the bullying, if you will. The rookie that was being bullied is now off the Dolphins team. He walked out of camp and said that's it. And the bullier has been suspended and might even have charges brought up against him because he had said to the person he was bullying, "I will kill you." I mean, that's how serious this thing is.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, what did all of this stem over? Does anybody know? I mean, what all of this stemmed from?
Well, this Richie Incognito, and that's his name, Incognito, that's his real last name, has been in a lot of trouble all through his football career in high school, college, and he has had to, let's say, leave different programs because they didn't like his attitude, and he's very hard to get along with. And he ended up at the Miami Dolphins, and he's been very, very tough on this one particular rookie lineman by the name of Martin. And quite frankly, he has just absolutely bullied this young man into submission. Tried to charge him, I believe, over $15,000 in some hate money that he said was due to him, and he tries to run him down and make fun of his family ancestry. And then in one of the texts that he sent him, he said he was going to kill the young man, and it looks like this has got completely out of control in the Dolphins organization, and now Incognito has been suspended, and the other young man, Martin, the one that was being the bullied person. I don't know what they're going to do psychologically if he's going to come back and try to play for the Dolphins anymore. It's turned into a big mess for a football team that should be much more professional than what they have been.
You would think that the organization would be supportive of the player, who obviously is being targeted by a certain player, maybe for reasons unknown, maybe his race, maybe for whatever, but say, oh, well, you're going to owe me this money, so I'll leave you alone. That ain't happening.
You know, and I've played a lot of sports, and I've been involved in a lot of sports teams, and this kind of behavior, I remember in high school, you know, the seniors and the juniors would always pick on if there was a freshman or a sophomore that was a standout and was elevated to the varsity. There was always a little bit of a hazing, you know, type thing to get him to be one of the guys. You know that as well as I do. Yep. But never to the extent that we hurt or made threats or anything else to that particular person. It was kind of a rite of passage. If you're going to play with the big boys, you got to act like a big boy. Yeah. But, you know, this should have been settled in the locker room, and whoever's the captain of the team or whoever is the team leader, this thing should have been nipped in the bud, and Richie Incognito should have been brought before the powers that be with the Dolphins and, quite frankly, given his walking papers a long time ago.
Well, either that or, you know, you just say, dude, either change your attitude or, yes, you are going to be relieved of your duties.
Absolutely.
And probably no other team is going to pick him up.
Here's a guy that makes over $4 million a year as a lineman for the Dolphins and doing this intimidation and destroying the whole personality of the team.
Oh, I don't understand what his entire point is. I mean, is it like, oh, well, I'm big?
No, it sounded like a racist type thing because, quite frankly, both Martin and himself are almost the same size. They weigh well over almost 300 pounds, and it just sounds like it's a racial thing with Incognito. We have a caller?
No, they hung up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Okay. But when you talk about having problems on a team, that should be solved internally. It should never go to the expanse of making the national news media and making a fool out of the owner of the team and also the team itself.
Yeah, because it truly, once this goes national, it definitely reflects upon the team, the players, and the fan base, and it's going to affect ticket sales eventually, and it will affect, you know, the team as a whole. So now the team is going to have to get together, confab, and try and figure out how they are going to overcome this, not only internally, but in the media's eyes as well.
Well, and I was listening last night to before the game between the Packers and the Bears, which unfortunately we lost our quarterback last night, Aaron Rodgers, injured. Yeah, for the first time in over 230-some games, Aaron Rodgers went out with a shoulder injury in the very first sequence on offense, and I'm sitting there crying my eyes out, and I tell you what, they just couldn't put forth the offense without him. No way, no way. He's the greatest quarterback, I think, in the league, and the Bears deserved to win. They played very well last night.
Well, I wouldn't say greatest quarterback in the league, of course.
Oh, yeah? Who are you going to pick, lady?
Russell Wilson, baby.
Where's all the records and the accolades yet? He's a young kid, and he's got a lot to achieve. Pardon me.
It's only his second year.
Well, yeah, but you can't. Okay, then it's not fair for you, a Seahawk fan, to say that somebody in their second year has got the accolades, the records, and the wherewithal as a person that's lived there, been there, and done that.
Well, I think the best quarterback that I have ever seen was probably Brett Favre.
For a minute there, I was going to say you sound like a University of Idaho fan, but I thought I would curb my remarks.
Well, thank you for curbing your remarks. Because I am a Packers fan, but if I have to choose between the two, I'm always going to go with the Seahawks.
You know what Deanne said last night?
What did she say last night?
And here's a woman that sits there, and this is Deanne, okay? She's crocheting. And she acts very indignant about sports that's on TV. Like, she doesn't show any interest at all. You know, like, I don't care about this, I don't want to watch it, and everything else. She knows more about sports than any three guys put together. She knows more about the NBA. She knows more about Major League Baseball. And she knows more about football. You know what she said last night when Aaron Rodgers went down?
What did she say?
She said, well, there's a golden opportunity for Favre to come back and look good to the Green Bay audience again before he goes into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly, and was it earlier this year his agent was saying that Brett Favre is ready to come back.
Yeah, they were trying to pitch him to a couple of teams, possibly to come back and play for the Jets and a couple other teams that were quarterback shy. And now, look who's really quarterback shy, and they've got Seneca Wallace, your old Seahawk quarterback, playing starting quarterback for the Packers. And I'm telling you what, he might have been a good quarterback, but made a lot of mistakes last night.
Well, and honestly, I don't think, and this is just me talking, Brett Favre, phenomenal quarterback, and he has a legacy behind him. I don't think that he should be entering into the NFL anymore.
No.
He's honestly too old for the sport.
It is, but can you imagine, though, what would happen and the personality structure of having the former starter come in and be the backup for the former backup quarterback. In other words, the roles would be entirely reversed. Aaron Rodgers was the backup, now the star, and Favre would come in and be the backup that's pushed into being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting but very, very explosive and lots of hurt-feeling dynamic. Right?
Yeah, but you know something? Deanne's point was well taken, though. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame.
He will.
And he's going to go in the Hall of Fame as a Green Bay Packer. And what a great way to come back, even if it was for one game as a backup, to get everybody back loving him again, even though he went to play for the Purple People Eaters up in Minnesota for a while, to get him back in the good graces of everybody and then exit and go right to the Hall of Fame.
You're still sore about that, aren't you?
I don't like Minnesota.
I've never been a Minnesota fan either. And then, of course, my most hated team, and I know that I'm probably going to get some hate mail on this one, the Denver Broncos. I cannot stand the Denver Broncos. However, I love Peyton Manning.
Okay. Listen, we're going to give away some turkeys. Do that again.
Hold on.
All right.
Got a better one.
All right, here we go.
What it takes is your complete cooperation, absolute secrecy, and
wrong one.
20 live turkeys.
Where's my turkey? There it is. I love that. We're going to be giving away some turkeys, and all people have to do is send me a short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you. What does it mean to you, Thanksgiving? And we're going to be giving away 4 Thanksgiving turkeys. Compliments of Zeb at the Ranch, Smith's Food King, and Ramsey Heating and Electric. And send them to my email address, Zeb at the Ranch, ZEBATTHERANCH, and at hotmail.com. Okay, Zeb at the Ranch at hotmail.com. We're going to have a drawing. The first drawing for 2 turkeys on November 21st, and the second drawing on November 26th. So get those letters in. What Thanksgiving means to you. Okay?
So what does Thanksgiving mean to you? I mean, you don't have to go into the full diatribe, but think about that.
No, I have.
I will think about what Thanksgiving means to me, although I already know, but it might take more than a paragraph.
Well, it means family, church, and it also means, hopefully, better prayers for the future.
For me, Thanksgiving means being thankful for what I have, not worrying about what I don't.
Yeah.
Being with family members and truly giving thanks that I even walk this planet on a daily basis.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Part of that prayer will be also from us because we couldn't do this without you.
Amen, brother. And, I love my job and I love what I do, and I'm just very, very thankful that, I've been given this opportunity. I've worked hard for it, but also, I've been given this opportunity to be able to do what I do. And so Thanksgiving to me is like giving thanks for everything that I've ever had, that I've ever worked hard for, and, just for prayers for the future.
Yep.
Really.
And, some people out in the audience might be saying, oh, gee, that sounds corny. But you know something? I love corny. I really do.
So what do we want to play for our outro song?
Oh, okay. I'll tell you what. Let me do a quick commercial. And then how about something to do with food? Because I'm going to be talking about Perkins Restaurant and Bakery.
Okay, perfect.
Find something about food, and I want to talk about their pies. They have got a selection of pies over there that will knock your Tony Lamas off. I mean, the best pies anywhere, the greatest bakery with the best cookies, the best muffins, the best everything. Oh, it's great. You're going to love it. All the great desserts, all the great breakfasts and lunches and dinners. Perkins, where they believe in being best buds with your taste buds. Perkins Restaurant and Bakery, 800 North Overland in Burley. the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Don't you miss our next lunch bunch will be our Christmas and Thanksgiving combined lunch bunch on December the 5th. December the 5th, it's going to be outstanding at Perkins Restaurant and Bakery. Next hour, we're going to have Dr. History on the air, along with a dear friend of mine from Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bigo. And by the way, Gina, if you look at the camera, I am wearing an Indianapolis Colts jersey this morning because his team's the only one that won in the last couple of days.
Well, and you're kind of making good on a bet, so you might want to make sure that he has the webcam on so he can see that.
Yeah, tell him when you call him, would you?
I will.
Okay. I'll be back. I want to hear about food. I'll talk to you in a couple of minutes. Zeb at the Ranch will be back in 6. Oh, my. Welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, getting you ready for safe wintertime driving. Stop in at all the 7 locations today. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Also, our thanks go out to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. I want to remind you that we're very fortunate to have a segment on Thursday's program called School Days in Cassia County, and we have 2 wonderful sponsors for that School Days in Cassia County, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. Very, very good place for the family to go and get all the quality games, toys, books, arts and crafts, puzzles, and much more. And don't forget free gift wrapping and layaway. They've got the infant clothing, the quality shoes. They've got everything for you, including, don't forget, too, all the winter dresses are right there at A Child's World. 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley, one of the proud sponsors of School Days in Cassia County, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. Easy number to remember, 677-8888. For 14 years, the Ambulatory Surgery Center of Burley has saved area families thousands of dollars as they've received outstanding medical care. And don't forget, call 677-8888 for doctors who bring their patients to the Ambulatory Surgery Center, and they provide outstanding care and save their patients money. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, another of the proud sponsors of School Days in Cassia County. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know this until just recently, but I did a little research on Dr. History, and I found out that he developed a love for writing and a love for everything to do the old-fashioned way in history. And for years and years and years, he has spent days in the summertime just going out collecting quills so he can write from the old pen, quill, and ink stands and keep history covered in his ledgers. Here is Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Fantabulous.
Good, good. Well, I am abiding by your wishes.
Uh-huh.
And you asked for some scary stories, even though it's past Thanksgiving, so...
No, it's not past Thanksgiving. It's not past Thanksgiving. It's past Halloween.
Halloween. What can I say? Okay, Halloween.
Well, now, I'm anxious to hear a spooky story from you, so go ahead.
I've got 3 stories if we have time.
Okay.
One is about a ghost, one is about a headless horseman, and one is about a legless horseman.
Okay.
So, all right, here we go. There's a guy that tells a story about meeting Black Jack Ketchum. Okay, now Black Jack Ketchum was the guy that when they did hang him, if you recall, they kind of underestimated or overestimated, and when they hung him, his head popped off.
Yeah, one of those little things.
Yeah, one of those little minor details when you're hanging somebody. So, anyway, so this guy tells a story. He and several scouts were at camping at the Philmont Scout Ranch, and they went backpacking through the mountains, and there was some historic sites, including one of Black Jack Ketchum's outlaw hideouts. Now, the hideout was a kind of a large rock overhang, and the scouts thought it would be fun to camp there for the night. So, but the leader insisted that they stay at their designated site. Well, disappointed, several of these scouts set their tents up several hundred feet away from the leader's tent, which, I can't imagine scouts doing this, but they did. hoping that they'd have a chance to sneak back to the hideout. So about 11 o'clock that night, when the rest of the camp was fast asleep, 5 of the scouts gathered the sleeping bags and quietly stole back to the hideout, to Black Jack's hideout. So they set up camp underneath the overhang. They built a fire, and they sat around talking about the trip. And when the fire burned down to nothing more than red coals, the scouts settled down in their sleeping bags. And the guy that tells this story, he drifted off to sleep thinking about Black Jack Ketchum. Suddenly, he was awakened by a noise in the bushes. He said that he felt paralyzed, unable to move. He tried to call out to the others, but his throat wouldn't work. Then he saw a cowboy dressed all in black come running out of the bushes toward the hideout. He said the man was mostly solid, but some parts of him appeared a little translucent. He described the man as filthy dirty with tattered hat, clothes from the 1800s, terribly yellowed teeth. His face was red, glistening with sweat, with lots of facial hair, and he held a revolver. The cowboy was apparently unaware of the scout, but the boy was very scared, as much by his inability to move than by the man. And as he watched, a strange kind of fog came from the tree line across from a small stream. And he could hear men yelling, didn't know what they were saying, and then he heard muffled gunfire.
Uh-oh.
Okay, the cowboy turned and fired his revolver 6 times into the trees. And then he ran and stood right over the scout. The cowboy was wounded in the shoulder and discharged 6 more shell casings from his revolver right on top of the boy. Okay, now as he watched, these casings disappeared as they fell onto his sleeping bag. Now the cowboy reloaded his revolver, fired additional shots into the trees, and suddenly the cowboy saw the scout. Now the expression on the cowboy's face indicated that the scout had just suddenly appeared before his eyes. Now the cowboy seemed to be confused and confounded, and of course the scout was absolutely terrified. Then the cowboy uncocked his pistol and he looked at the scout very closely and he said, "You're not supposed to be here." And then he just disappeared into thin air. Now, eventually the scout was able to go back to sleep, and the next morning his fellow scouts woke him up, and as they broke camp, the boy told his fellow campers about the, quote, dream, and they thought it was kind of funny, but the scout started rolling up his sleeping bag, and he found 6 shell casings in the dust. Okay, when he returned back to camp, the scout visited an old saloon where a photograph of Black Jack Ketchum was displayed. The photograph was the same man that the scout had seen at the hideout.
Oh,
okay.
That's a good thing he was in a saloon.
Just brushed him off and setting him up for a big joke, and the scout never told anybody else about it, but he kept the shell casings. Now, when he returned home, he checked with a gun expert who said that the casings were dated from sometime around 1878, which is about the same time Black Jack was running around. But they were in almost brand new condition, and the gunpowder could still be smelled in them. In fact, the gunpowder was one that was used in the last century, but not today. Now, the scout kept the casings for years, but unfortunately, after he moved away from home, his mother threw them out, along with several other items the boy had saved. And so that's the story of the ghost of Black Jack Ketchum.
Oh, my goodness, I'd never heard that.
So, okay, now we're going to move on to another one here.
All I need is a pumpkin.
That's right. Okay, in 1846, the infamous Donner Party, they crossed the Ruby Mountains over the Overland Pass, and there was a much smaller party led by a guy named Am Brewster Pike. And so that's the guy we're going to talk about. Now, he was following the Donners, but they were several weeks behind. So basically, the same blizzard that stranded the Donner Party in the Sierras likewise hit the Pike Party.
I see.
And they'd missed the Overland Pass cutoff and were now in the vicinity of a place called Mooney Basin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, according to a document written about the history of that county, again, the same tragedy befell the Pike Party. Once all the food was gone and their livestock was eaten, they started munching on each other. Now, whether Am Brewster Pike was murdered and his legs were cooked up, or he lost both his legs due to frostbite, is unknown. What is known is that ever since that terrible winter, the ghost of Armbruster Pike has been seen off and on over the years. And they say it's a ghost that always is described as being hunchbacked, long, scraggly white hair, beard, and no legs. Okay, now I'm going to keep going here. Mining activities have been going on in that area since the 1800s, and there's a couple of old ghost towns over in that area, but there are tales of miners just disappearing and never being found again. One of a miner whose body was found, but his head was missing. It was later found some distance away, but now we're going to go into modern time. In the 1980s, there were modern mining activities at this same area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now the mechanics who worked on the graveyard shift, that should give you a hint.
Hey, hang on just a second. I don't want to be alone in the studio. Deanne, come in here. I'm afraid.
She needs to hold your hand.
Yes.
Okay, so here we are, the graveyard shift, 1980s. Some of the mechanics at the shop, they witnessed some unexplained events, like trucks and dozers in the shop that would mysteriously start up all by themselves. Others had seen a lone figure at night. In 1989, while hauling ore, there was a contractor that was killed when his truck went out of control and rolled and near an S-curve in Mooney Basin. So was the driver swerving to miss something or someone? Well, okay, we're going to keep going here. During a blizzardy night, a lube man, and I'm assuming that means a guy that just greases everything up, was driving back from the Mooney Basin, and as he approached this S-curve, he almost ran over a man in the road.
Uh-oh.
Okay, when the lube man reached the shop, he asked if anyone had seen someone walking around. Well, no one had, and they asked why. Well, the lube man told them about a guy he had nearly run over on the road. He'd stopped his truck, gotten out to ask the guy in the road if he needed a ride. Well, the guy in the road took off into the blizzard and the sagebrush, and when the lube man was asked to describe the man in the road, he said, well, he had a long white beard, white hair, he was hunched over, and it was blizzarding so bad that I couldn't see his legs. Well, the miners in the shop said, you just saw the ghost of Armbruster Pike. Well, the lube man was new on the mine site, and he'd never heard the stories about Pike, but he says that he actually saw him several more times after that.
You gave me goosebumples.
Well, any ghost story can use a little help, and one quiet night in that area, a couple of miners, they had a new guy on the job.
Oh, boy.
And so what they did is they went and got a coat, and just a short coat, like a bright raincoat, just on the upper part, and this was a night, and he ran through the bushes just within the edges of the light, and to this day, the new guy swears he saw the ghost of Armbruster Pike. Trying to get him.
Okay.
But anyway, that's kind of the story of Armbruster Pike that still roams that area over there. Okay, now we're going to get to the Headless Horseman.
Oh, boy, here we go.
Okay, 1850. A man by the name of Vidal was busy rustling cattle all over South Texas. And pretty soon he had a pretty high price on his head, dead or alive. Well, during that summer, Vidal took advantage of Comanche raids, which were pulling a lot of the men over to fight off the Comanches. Well, in the meantime, left the settlements unguarded. So this was a pretty good time for Vidal, along with three of his henchmen, to take advantage of the situation. So what Vidal didn't know was that when he went and stole some horses, that several of these were the prized Mustangs belonging to a Texas Ranger. You don't mess with the Texas Ranger.
No.
Yeah. So you steal a horse from the Texas Ranger, and this guy was named Taylor, Creed Taylor. Now, due to the location of Taylor's ranch and livestock, he quite often was the target of horses being stolen. Well, Taylor had enough, and he quickly gathered up a fellow ranger by the name of Bigfoot Wallace. Bigfoot, and another rancher by the name of Flores. Well, both Wallace and Taylor were skilled at tracking, and the three men shortly found the trail of Vidal and his henchmen. And when the three men found the outlaw camp, they waited until night, and then when the bandits were sleeping, they caught them unaware, and they basically just killed them. But killing them was just not quite enough. So Taylor and Wallace wanted to set an example that would kind of deter future bandits. So in those days, stealing cattle and horses was a crime really actually more serious than murder. So the Rangers had tried all types of brutal justice, including stringing them up in trees and left them hanging, or shooting them or chopping them to pieces, but nothing to work to stop the outlaws. So in kind of a dramatic example of frontier justice, Wallace, old Bigfoot Wallace, he beheaded Vidal, then lashed him firmly into the saddle on the back of a wild Mustang, and he tied the outlaw's hands to the saddle horn, and he secured the torso to hold him upright. And then Bigfoot attached Vidal's head and sombrero to the saddle with a long strip of rawhide.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so have you got this picture in your mind?
Yes, I do, indelibly, forever.
Okay. He then turned the bucking horse loose to wander the Texas hills with this terrible burden on his back.
Yeah.
Well, soon stories began to abound about the headless rider seen usually in remote country with his sombreroed head swinging back and forth to the rhythm of the horse's gallop. Well, as time went on, more and more cowboys spotted the dark horse with its fearsome cargo, and not knowing what it was, they riddled it with bullets. But the horse and its rider, they rode on. He didn't fall off the horse. And so the legend became known as El Muerto.
El Muerto.
M-U-E-R-T-O.
Yeah, El Muerto. Yes.
Muerto?
Yeah.
El Muerto.
You can just say it like we'd say it, El Dedo.
I don't know what that means instead.
It means dead.
It means dead.
Dead, like in...
I think it means the headless one.
No, it means dead.
Yeah, dead.
Muerto means dead, and this guy was really deceased.
He was. So these stories, these legends began. So soon South Texas brush country became a place to avoid, as El Muerto was credited with all kinds of bad stuff and misfortune. Well, finally, a posse of local ranchers captured the wild horse at a watering hole and just south of Alice, Texas. And still strapped firmly on his back was this dried-up corpse of Vidal, now is riddled by scores of bullet holes, Indian arrows, and the body was finally buried in an unmarked grave, and the horse was finally free to run. But now that should have been the end of El Muerto, but the legend would live on to this day. Soon after his body was laid to rest, soldiers began seeing the headless rider.
Uh-oh.
And travelers and ranchers in this no man's land also reported continuing to see a headless horseman. In fact, in 1917, a couple traveling by covered wagon to San Diego camped for one night outside of town, and they would report the next day that as they sat by the campfire, a big gray stallion sped by with a headless man shouting, "It is mine, it is all mine."
Yeah, it was an IRS agent.
It was. And then again, another sighting of the Headless Wonder was reported near Freer, Texas in 1969.
Oh, my.
So the legend lives on, and still today there's people report seeing the Headless Rider galloping through the mesquite on clear, moonlit nights in South Texas.
You know, the one that bothered me the most, I think, that gave me the heebie-jeebies, was the guy in Nevada that you said even up until, 1969 or something, they've had sightings of down at that mine?
Oh, yeah.
Woo! That's spooky.
Yeah, I mean, and Blackjack Ketchum, wandering around.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think you've ever seen a ghost?
Nah, I don't think so. I've been scared a few times. When I was a kid, out milking the cows at night sometimes when it's dark and you hear noises and you wonder what was that out there by the haystack,
Yeah, well, you scared me a couple times with some of the stories about naked mountain men and other things.
That's true. I try to choose my words wisely.
And sometimes that doesn't work.
I know. I have stuck my foot in my mouth.
Oh, but surgery was performed and all was well. No, those were 3 good stories. Quite frankly, I really enjoyed those. I thought you did a good job.
Well, thanks. I started looking up some of these stories, and I thought, oh man, there's actually a lot of stories. I mean, you get into some of the ghost towns, and people that were killed at certain places, or thrown down a mine shaft, or I mean, there's as I started looking, there's a lot of ghost stories in the Old West, and then if you head back to the Civil War times, man, there's a bunch of stories out there.
You know, and when you think about it, there's even stories right just not too far from where you're standing right now over on the Rupert side of the river for that cemetery right there. You always hear about somebody saying they've seen a ghost walking across the highway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's all kinds of things. I mean, even now, yeah, you're right, even today, some of these old mansions, you know, somebody got killed in or one thing or another, you know, that they're supposedly still wandering the halls.
Woo! So, look out, man, I'll tell you. All right, now, what are you planning on next week?
Well, I actually ran across a story I think that I might use next week, and it's about athletics among the Indians.
Oh, really? They had their own football teams?
They have
I know it. I know where you're headed. They're going to call themselves the Redskins.
No, that would be too general.
Oh, okay.
It's going to have to be the Apaches, the Cochise, the Arapahoes, you know. But they were politically correct then.
Really?
Because that's what they were.
Yeah. But what kind of teams did they have? What kind of games did they play?
Well, I'm going to save that for next week.
Oh, okay.
But they had their cheerleaders. They had their referees.
The Indians had cheerleaders?
They had their referees.
You're kidding me.
No. And some of the sports that they played, sometimes among themselves and sometimes against other tribes. So, yeah, they actually had referees. And you know, like I say, we'll talk about that next week, about what the referee said was that stood. That was the law.
He was kind of like the tennis linesman.
Yeah, you don't even yell at him.
Yeah, oh really? What happens if you do?
A lot different than today.
Yeah, no kidding.
Get mad and yell and scream at the referee.
Well, I can't wait to hear that. That sounds like an interesting story, Dr. History. And what do you do?
I think I kind of found it interesting. So
yeah,
but yeah, it's sports and athletics. I mean, it's kind of like the Super Bowl or the whatever you want to call it, NCAA championship of the civilized or uncivilized world, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, now, tell everybody, Dr. History, your real name is Dr. Ken Turner. We got about 30 seconds left, and tell everybody what you do in your real life.
I'm a chiropractic physician in Burley, Idaho, 1400 Normal Avenue. Been here for quite a few years. In fact, I'm the patriarch now of the chiropractors in this area. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And the originator of the Bacon Maple Bar.
That's right. That's right.
Hey,
it doesn't get any better than a bacon maple.
No, as a matter of fact, I was thinking about those yesterday. God bless you for being on the air this morning and scaring everybody, and I know everybody's going to be watching over their shoulder. Thank you, Dr. History.
All right, you have a good day, Zeb.
Thank you. God bless you. Those were good stories this morning. He does a wonderful job. Dr. History. Hey, I know somebody else that does a wonderful job, and that's the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, have they got some delicious food and nice people. And you know what? They've got a luncheon special in there Monday through Friday for just $5.95. That's the best deal in town. And they've got a senior citizen dinner special Monday through Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Again, only $5.95. What's on the menu for today? Pasta Primavera with garlic toast and super salad. That's what's on the menu today, along with a lot of great menu items at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see them today. What we are going to do is take a little break and turn it back over to Gina in just a moment, but I want to remind you that we are going to be giving away 4 turkeys. All you have to do is send me a short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you, and we're going to have drawings for those turkeys coming up in November on the 21st and the 26th, so be sure and get those in. Send them to my email, zebattheranch@hotmail.com, zebattheranch@hotmail.com, and we're going to have the drawings coming up in a couple of days. So get those in as soon as possible. Right now, back over to Gina.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back. And Gina, if we may, I'd like to do the weather forecast right now with MichaelRogersWeather.com, and it's brought to you this half hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Your family will always enjoy the comfort of Lennox from Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Here now.
All right, Michael Rogers from Michael Rogers Weather.
Sorry, that was me.
That's okay, let it go.
Hi, everybody, Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com. Not a bad day on the cool side. By the way, we're going to warm up. This cold is not going to last for a while, but we're not going to warm up like you really want to warm up. Okay, 45 for the high today, 54 tomorrow, 55 day after tomorrow. It's going to be sun and clouds throughout much of the day and also for tomorrow. So you know what? Enjoy the fall of November and enjoy the weather. Feel the weather you got.
There goes my buddy MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley with Lennox Home Comfort Systems. That's all right, Gina. I appreciate it. Don't worry about it at all. Just let her flow. I make mistakes every day. Just ask my wife. Hey, is Dave ready to go?
Yep.
Thank you much. I appreciate your help getting him on the phone. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman has been on my program many, many, many times, and I have the utmost respect for what he's achieved and the personality that he has. He's an author of a great series of books, actually a couple of books that really are outstanding for everybody to read and enjoy. The Devil at Our Doorstep, the latest, and writes a blog, is executive officer of Executive Management Services, and just, I don't know what else I can say about the man, except that he's very successful and understands politics and business. Good morning, Dave Bego. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. You look great. I'll tell you what, you really look handsome. I just want you to know that. I love your attire.
Gina must have told you that in honor of your being here and in honor of the fact that my Packers lost to the Bears last night and your Colts came from behind the other day to win, I am wearing the jersey, and you're seeing me sitting here with a smirk on my face and blue and white jersey of the Indianapolis Colts on my fat little body.
Well, I think you look handsome, and I just want you to know that.
Well, thank you much, David. And, I want to start things off this morning by, you've been on this program for a long, long time, and we really don't know that much about Dave Bego. Give us a little background and history about what makes the man tick and how you arrived as to where you are today.
Well, I think you're referring a little bit to my blog that I wrote this past week, and it's kind of an interesting story. You know, I was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, and moved to Fort Wayne when I was, my dad was 10 years old. He was transferred up there, and that's where I grew up and played basketball, Zeb. And, I was fortunate enough to be a pretty good athlete, and I was the city scoring champ in the city of Fort Wayne in basketball, and I got a scholarship to Wabash College and to play basketball there. And what's interesting about this story on my blog is last Saturday night, actually a week ago Saturday now, I was at a engagement party for at some friend's house for their daughter, and I'm sitting in the living room, and I see this guy that I know is an old sports writer for the Indianapolis Star. And so I go over and meet him and talk to him, and I told him I used to play basketball, just what I just told you, and that I went to Wabash and was only there for 2 years and left after 2 years because of the coach. And he says, well, who was the coach? And I said, and I don't say this in my blog, but it's Snowy Simpson. And he says, I remember Snowy. And he described Snowy, and I said, that's right on, you're right on the mark. And I said, Snowy just was not that good of a coach, and I left after that year, and so did a couple other guys, and it changed my whole life path. I was going to be a teacher, and I was going to be a coach. That's what I always wanted to be. And when I went to the other school, Tri-State University, they did not have an education program, and I became pre-med student and ended up going to Ball State and get a master's degree in microbiology. And while I was on the waiting list at IU Medical School to get into their medical school, I was offered a job by Central Soya Company, and I ran feed mills and soybean processing plants, things you should know about, for about 10 years, and then got out of that and went into the cleaning business, the janitor, if you may. And when I got done telling him all this, he says, Dave, you know something? Do you know what Snowy did before you, he had the coaching job at Wabash? And I said, no. He says, well, maybe you ought to look it up. So, Zeb, the next day I went home and I looked it up, and I was astounded. I'm sitting on my chair here at home, looking at the computer, reading this article, and And I always thought he was a coach in Pennsylvania before he was the coach at Wabash. But actually, he was a janitor at a college there.
Oh, my goodness
and
sakes.
I'm sitting there going, oh, my God, a janitor changed my whole life to where I'm a janitor today. And, you know, there was divine intervention. I believe God has a mission for people, and I think he did it for me so that I could stand up for employees' rights and fight the SEIU and other unions like I have. And I just couldn't believe it.
You know, that is quite a story. Have you ever had a chance to see and talk to the man since college days?
No, and I don't think he's alive anymore. He was fairly old then, and that was, 40 years ago. And so I don't think, I mean, you know, what else can you say? It's
really?
Just, I believe God has something in mind for everybody to help society, and I think that's what he did for me.
You know, it's interesting how human interest stories and our past always seems to have naturally a dedicated purpose to God's Word. And I'm not going to beleaguer my story with you right now, but it's so interesting to hear how it changed you and what profession it put you into for a life's work. One question I want to ask you before we go on with some of the subject matter of our visit today is the movie Hoosiers is one of my very favorite movies. As a matter of fact, I play it. I've got it out in my TV stand. I play it every now and then just to sit back and enjoy. The state of Indiana and basketball and Hoosiers and young people, it's really like that, isn't it?
Oh, it really is, and it's a great state, great basketball state, and we take it very, very seriously. And people don't understand when you drive around Indiana, Zeb, you see basketball goals in just about every driveway, and that's who we are.
Yep. Dave, being that you're a businessman and you fought the SEIU and won, and you're basically, quote unquote, kind of a marked man for what you've achieved and accomplished with them. What about today? What about this situation with Obamacare? I mean, I have never in my life seen such a disaster, witnessed the sorrow-filled stories that we're hearing now about people with cancer with no coverage, people that are wondering when the hammer is going to come down and they're going to lose their policy and their coverage for their family's protection and themselves. This is absolutely a major disaster of all time. What do you think about Obamacare, and is there any chance to right the ship and get it on a better course?
Well, Zeb, you and I have talked about what the president's ultimate agenda is before, but I think it's he wants control, and Obamacare is just another means of controlling the American citizens, and he doesn't care whether he runs over anybody to accomplish his goals. I saw this with the union labor bosses. I still see it today. I can tell you a story, what's happened here in Indiana with the UAW, and as long as they get their mission, and people just have to understand this, it's very simple. They want to control you, and they want to use your money for their purposes and for their power. And that's what this guy, he was trained like this, and that's what he's going to do. And he'll even run over the union bosses if he has to.
Yeah. Dave, and you're a very astute businessman, and you know so many very powerful people across this United States. When you hear the President of the United States basically deny and disavow that what people heard him say on tape 29 different times, that if you like your insurance, you can keep it, period. If you like your doctor, you can keep him, period. And now they're coming out with caveats that they say were implied. This is nothing more than a smokescreen. How can people ever have respect for this administration again?
Well, they got to wake up. And you know what you said, I was watching O'Reilly last night, and he was basically giving the president a pass.
Yes.
I'm not sure that Obama really knew some of these things were said or going on, or what was really going on behind the scenes. And it just made me want to throw up, to be honest with you, because people need to wake up, and they got to quit being nice guys about this. This president, again, only cares about one thing, and that's his agenda and controlling America and taking us to a socialistic lifestyle. And Zeb, I've seen this. The unions use the same tactics. They would say something, and we'd expose their lies, and then they come back to our employees and the employees of other companies and try and reword it to make it sound good, knowing that a lot of people, just like O'Reilly, will give them a pass.
Now, when you think back, Dave, 25 years ago, Ronald Reagan was president. I mentioned this in my first hour of my program. And never in my wildest dreams 25 years ago, when I think about Reagan as president and what was going on in my environment at that particular time, was I thinking and worrying about having the government control my eating, my speech, gun control, forcing the filthy gay lifestyle upon everybody, the denigration of Christianity and our Constitution, government agencies playing Gestapo with people's lives like the EPA. I mean, absolutely everything in the last 25 years that we didn't even really think would ever happen. It's happening right now on a daily basis in this country.
Well, it is, and we need another Reagan type of president to reverse it. In fact, we need somebody, I think, even stronger, that they'll run on a platform where they go in and say, we're not going to pass any more laws. We're going to go on, we're going to eliminate laws. We're going to get rid of all this stuff, and we're going to take America back to what it was and let people, become their own people, self-determination, and make this country great again. And until we get some politicians in there like that, Zeb, we're in trouble.
Dave, the immigration reform, earlier this week I've had a couple of guests talking about this, and if Obama gets his way, 11 to 12 million illegal aliens will go to the front of the line and be basically bought voters for the Democratic Party in 2014. What are your thoughts about immigration reform?
Well, I'm a little bit of a mixed bag on that. Some people would probably not agree with me on some of it, but I think, we made a mistake as a country. We allowed these people in here, and it's going to be pretty tough for us to put them on trucks and boats and ship them back out. Having said that, I do believe if we are going to give them some way to citizenship, that it's got to be a way that where they have to sign up, they have to be have green cards, they have to be working on their citizenship, they have to have background checks, and if they have any bad history, they're gone, and they have to work in jobs that are what I call not shadow jobs. Jobs that are actually where they're being paid legally and they're paying their share of taxes and all that. They're not eligible for benefits, entitlement benefits, welfare, anything, unless they are signed up. And, I mean, we really enforce the laws. I don't think we need new laws. I think we enforce the laws we have. And, Oklahoma did this, Zeb, and when they did that, they had most of the Hispanic population flee the state.
That's true.
And then we go from there, we enforce our borders, and, I'd put the Army on the borders personally. And I write about this in one of my blogs. And from then on, we make this a nation of laws the way it should be and have our government enforce them the way they should.
Absolutely. One of the main subjects that I've been talking about on this program and the pros and the cons of Common Core education. I know you've written about it in your blogs. I've written about it in mine, and I've had many guests on the program. Kyle Olson from Michigan, noted authority about Common Core and what it will do. What are your thoughts? The easiest way to control a country is to go through the education system and warp the minds of the young. Is Common Core at that level?
I think it is, Zeb. There's people here in Indianapolis that I've been working with on it in Indiana, and when you go through and you read the Department of Education's paper that they wrote on it, and you look where they're going to put bracelets on children, they're going to use retina eye scanners and other tests to decide and track children and decide what, by the time they're, third, fourth grade, what they're going to be doing the rest of their life. There's something wrong, and that's all about control. And our government needs to wake up.
What are the biggest keys about Common Core that you think the general public isn't seeing or listening to that scared you and had a negative feeling about Common Core from the get-go?
Well, from the very first thing is when you're structuring everybody that they're going to be doing the same thing, and everybody's graded on the same type of thing, and the curriculum's the same, and it's the curriculum that they pick out, and it doesn't even have some of our history and everything in it. Really scares me because, Zeb, I'm a firm believer what made this country great is it's not that everybody was the same, but that we were all different. And that, we had people grow up in different parts of the country, and because of that, they found ways to cope and grow and new inventions and new lifestyles and everything like that, just put us at the forefront of the world. And now you want to make us the same as everybody else? That doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. Dave, final thought. Of course, we talk football quite frequently on this program, but there's a negative in sports, and you being a former basketball player and great athlete, I'm sure you can relate to this story that's coming out of Miami with the Dolphins and a bullying case. What are your thoughts on this? I thought bullying was basically for the elementary school grounds, but it looks like it's invaded also pro football.
Bullying is everywhere, Zeb. I've seen it throughout my life. I've seen it when I was a kid. I've seen it in business. I've seen it with the unions. I've seen it in sports. I don't think I ever told you this story, but when I was in high school, I started as a sophomore on the varsity, and one of the players on the team was a football player, and he was a senior, and he didn't like it because I was starting, and he wasn't. And one day in practice, he went around me, or I went around him, made a move, went around him, and he didn't like it. He stepped on my left foot, and it tore the tendons off my ankle. I was in a boot for about 3 or 4 weeks. And he did that on purpose to try and bully me and scare me. And unfortunately, he didn't accomplish it. I'm not that type. I came back, and when I came back to practice, I was guarding him. I stole the ball from him, and I'm dribbling down for an uncontested layup, and I hear him behind me, and I know he's going to run over me. And I just stepped aside the last minute, threw the ball up on the glass, and stuck my foot out as he went by. And have you ever heard skin coming off knees on a wood floor?
Many times.
And my point to the story is you can't let people bully you because they're all over the world, and you got to punch the bully in the nose, just like I talk about in my book.
When you say that, though, this is a prime time for the NFL and all professional sports to stand up and I think lock arms and say that this kind of a personality will not be tolerated on any sports team, be it football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Because this guy, this Richie Incognito, has had a history of being a bad guy all the way through high school, college, and into the pros. And it's about time to clean up the act in all sports. And I think the NFL's got a prime time here to really set an example. Would you agree?
Oh, I agree with you 100%. My point in my story is that you're going to have these people, and it's going to happen behind the scenes too, and it's not going to see the light of day. Just like the story I told you never saw the light of day, except for me and the team at that point. And it's sad that we have to have people like that in this world that they can't accept who they are and get by on their own talents and move on. They got to take it out on other people.
And it's almost like politics, isn't it?
Well, it is. And like I said, the union bosses are the same way. Do you have time for another quick story?
Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
To give you an idea, I think I talked to you about this a little bit here in Indiana. Been dealing with UAW, and we just lost a large account in Kokomo, Indiana. And the reason we lost it, Zeb, is because the union, they wanted me to sign a neutrality agreement. I wouldn't do it. We had an election, and they bribed the people the night before the election in coordination with the auto company that we had the job with. They had a pizza party and said, "You guys vote the union in. You'll get X more dollars per hour and some bonuses and stuff like that." And so they voted them in. We filed charges with the National Labor Relations Board. They were thrown out, of course, because of Obama's cronies. And when they came to negotiate, I said, no, we're not going to do it because Obama's people in Washington are recess appointees that have been found unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court's going to do a hearing on that pretty soon. Until then, all their decisions are on hold. So, Zeb, and here's where it really gets sad. The UAW goes to this car company and threatens them with strikes, So the car company fires us. Okay. Well, they offered me. They said, "We'll pay you the extra money and everything." And I said, "I'm not going to be part of your corruption because it's going to end up bad in the end." So the car company fired us. They hired a union cleaning company. Okay. And that was back in early September. What we found out since then is because this particular plant for this car company was not very profitable, they now have laid off 11 people on the line in the plant, and maybe a couple more to come. And they don't care because, you know something, net, the UAW has control, number one. Plus, we had 26 employees in there, but they now have paying union dues, less 11 in the plant, so there's still 15 ahead. It's all about the power and the money.
Absolutely. Dave, I really treasure every time you come on the program. Always interesting, and you're a man of great value to all of us, especially with your writing of your books, The Devil at Our Doorstep, and all the blogs. Dave Bego, dear friend, thank you back in Indiana, and yes, I am wearing the blue and white because lately they're the only team you can depend upon, the Indianapolis Colts. Thank you, Dave Bego.
Thanks for having me on. You look great.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Talk to you soon. Thanks much. One of my dear friends across the country, back in the Midwest in Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bego, and quite a businessman. Quite a businessman. We need more leadership like him in politics today. Hey, we want to talk to you about the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply, 515 5th Street, south side of Rupert, right there on the square, 436-5661. They're having a great big holiday fair on the square November 16th. You better believe it. Direct sales companies coming together to help with your Christmas shopping needs. Avon, Mary Kay, Thrive Life, Tupperware, JD Premium, and Premier Designs. One day, a great big holiday fair right there, November 16th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You are going to love it. So stop over to the Rupert Bookstore and Office Supply. Nice people. 515 5th Street in Rupert. Really good folks. Don't forget, send me a short paragraph about what Thanksgiving means to you, and you might win a turkey for Thanksgiving. The drawings are going to be held for 2 turkeys on November 21st and another 2 turkeys on November 26th, and send them to my email, zebattheranch@hotmail.com. I want to also remind you that the roads aren't always going to be dry this winter, and we're going to be driving in muck and snow and ice and everything. Well, you'd better be prepared and stop into any one of the 7 Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers right now for your winter traction tires. They've got them all for you, all the different tread designs, all the tires that are pinned for studs. They've got the best in batteries. I mean, you don't want to go out in the car in the morning at 4 o'clock and it's 20 degrees below zero and turn the key and it goes, no thank you. You want a battery you can rely on. They've got all the batteries, the tire chains, the best in brake value. It's all there for wintertime safe driving at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, let's take a look and see what we've got tomorrow on the program. The first hour, an open forum for you to express your views about a lot of things. And then, of course, at 9:06 from Colorado, Doug Johnson's going to be on the phone. 9:30, I always look forward to having Jeff Poole on the air, and he's kind of the answer man when it comes to all the car and pickup problems and things you need to know about automotives. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then Dan Gaynor's going to be on the phone tomorrow with us from back in Washington, D.C., as is Christine Harbin. So we've got a full plate of really interesting people tomorrow. We're going to be talking about Obamacare. We're going to be talking about taxes and everything else. Going to be interesting. And Gina's going to be running the board over there. Hey, Gina, you want to hear an update on the Ramsey and Zeb at the Ranch Corral?
Oh, please do.
I talked to Mr. Ramsey yesterday, and he is excited to the point of just shaking like Santa Claus in anticipation of having the first annual Christmas Ramsey Zeb at the Ranch Corral. Singers extraordinaire.
And of course, Keith Ramsey being the singer extraordinaire, because all of us are just backup.
Yeah, he was a little hesitant to diminish his talents with us as our background voices, but I said we would try to sing as quietly as possible and let him carry the ball downfield.
Pretty much. I sing off-key, Mr. Ramsey, so shove me way back, way in the back.
But you know what I'm thinking of doing? You know, a chorale is C-H-O-R-A-L-E.
Right.
But I'm going to go with the original chorale, and I'm going to build a chorale, if it's okay with him, right in front of Ramsey's, and that's where we're going to sing in the Zeb at the Ranch chorale.
You know what I think would be fun? And this is just me talking. If we put up a portable corral on like a trailer bed and pull it around to business.
There. Hey. I like that. See? We're expanding this so we can offend a lot of people.
Yes, because we're equal opportunity offenders.
Yes, I like that idea. I'm going to get to work on that this afternoon.
Yeah, see if we can find a flatbed trailer.
And somebody that knows how to drive.
That isn't you, so maybe Deanne.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And and then, honestly, I think that we should go, and travel down the streets, business to business, and just sing along.
A portable corral. I love this. This is going to be fantabulous. We'll tell you more after I get to thinking about it this afternoon. But tune in tomorrow at 8:06 for more of our continuing traveling corral on Zeb at the Ranch. We'll see you then, the way things were, the way things ought to be. Bye, everybody.